Good evening. This meeting was called to discuss religion in schools. I'm Brittany Kuhlman and will be showing you the current trends of religion and legislation. I want to note that this is not an intention to be biased towards either side, just to present current trends for you all to reflect on. So, again, our purpose here tonight understanding current board policies on religion in schools and how they're related to current legislation. We're going to start with prayer in school. This is the most controversial issue related to school sponsored activities. There's a few court cases that have happened recently. The first one, Santa Fe Independent School District versus Doe. That Supreme Court ruled that schools may not sponsor student recited prayer at high school football games. And then there's also Croft versus Perry. The Court of Appeals upheld a Texas law mandating a moment of silence. They stated that the state legislator had sufficiently articulated a secular purpose for a moment of silence. We do need to note that students during those moments of silence are allowed to pray during that time. And then lastly, in 2019, the Supreme Court declined to review the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision that upheld the firing of a football coach at a public high school for praying with his players after games. A few of the justices with the Supreme Court did note that they would look into similar cases. And then I also think it's important to note that 4 out of 10 public school students see athletes pray before games. And then over half of our United States teens say they have classmates wearing either clothing or jewelry with religious symbols. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. This one is under fire because of the wording of under God. Myers versus Loudoun County Public Schools in 2005. They went to the Court of Appeals and it upheld the recitation of the pledge in Virginia. Another district court in California ruled the opposite in Elk Grove Unified School District versus Nudo. But later on in 2010, another court reversed that decision, stating that the pledge did not constitute an establishment of religion. Next is curriculum. This is a big one and it's ongoing. Creationism and evolution. Kitzmeier versus Dover Area School District in 2005. This involved a challenge to Pennsylvania school districts' policy of high school students about intelligent design as an alternative to evolution. They were stating that this was it wasn't scientific theory, it was more religious. And then also, if any class is wanting to study the Bible, they must be related to the history of the Bible, the events that happened, not necessarily the religious based on it. This again is an ongoing issue. Rights of our students and parents. So Harper versus Poway Unified School District. This court rejected Harper's claim that school officials violated his First Amendment rights. Basically, this student was wearing a shirt, and on the back of that shirt, it said homosexuality is shameful, and then had quoted a scripture. And the court found that the rights were limited to prevent harming other students' rights. We must also note that students may pray again during non-instructional time, so that includes those moments of silence, during lunch, passing period, before school, and after school. We also need to note that students can organize prayer groups and religious clubs, same as any other non-curricular student activity, and those groups must be given the same access to the building as other groups. Rights of teachers and administrators. So when on duty and as a representative of the state, teachers and administrators are prohibited by the First Amendment from encouraging or discouraging prayer. Teachers may take part in religious activities where the overall context makes it clear that they're not participating in their official capacity as a teacher. And then our teachers may take part of prayer during work when it's permissible to engage in. So when we're on lunch, during our planned period, but we should not be praying with our students. And then also, if asked, teachers may disclose their religion. This assignment corresponds to the standard by allowing me to reflect evaluate, communicate about, and implement laws, rights, policies, and regulations to promote student and adult success and well being. After reviewing the articles, we then communicate the laws of the school religion through our presentations. I think it was important to state that I would be remaining neutral and just presenting facts to the school board to reflect on and let them make a decision of their own. This assignment was relevant to my learning because as a future administrator, I need to be up to date on school religion and the laws and regulations related to it. I think it's important to know that students can practice their religion during non instructional times and help them preserve their rights, but I also think it's important to support staff in their beliefs and then making it clear to them that we cannot project our beliefs onto our students. For reflection, I feel like these articles really help me understand the current legislation of school religion. As a future administrator, I would like to make the staff more aware of the laws and regulations, explaining that, again, they're allowed to have beliefs, but we just can't portray those beliefs onto our students. I do think it's interesting, though, that students are allowed to have clubs or groups that are religious based and they can use school facilities. But then they noted that school teachers really shouldn't be a sponsor of that activity because then that'd be a teacher on duty practicing religious beliefs. So I think that's a little interesting how that works. And I think it's something to reflect on further and to talk with my school more about how our Fellowship of Christian Athletes group works and how they do a sponsor with that. And then there's my references.